Welcome to the Windows 11 System Administrator Operating System course. In this course, we will discuss various components of administrating a Windows 11 system. And the first lesson, we'll talk about an operating system overview, some changes from Windows 10, the folder structure, administrative tools, and then the control panel settings and settings options. Navigating the operating system. If you're familiar with Windows 10, you'll notice some subtle differences from Windows 10 to Windows 11. First, when you first look at the desktop, you'll notice that the Start menu has been moved from the familiarized left-hand corner to the centralized area. In the left-hand corner is now a news feed that Microsoft has put here to help track information, and the Start menu is down in the central bottom corner. Similar as before, if you right-click on the Start menu, you have quick option items. You'll notice that PowerShell has been changed to Terminal, and you have the ability to pick which terminal launches when you click Terminal. So by default, the terminal will launch as Windows PowerShell. Again, back to the Start menu, we have kind of like a tabletized feel here where you have quick pinned applications and your account and power button. To get the classic Windows feel, you can click the All Apps button where you're listed with a by name application which is installed on the system. Notice that there's no longer an administrative Windows Tools area. It's been all centralized into a Windows Tools button, which launches into a control panel menu. Back to the desktop, right-clicking anywhere, there's also a little bit of a new feel. Some of the buttons may seem familiar, but you may be missing others. If you click Show More Options, you're presented with the classic Windows options when you right-click. Same goes for clicking on an icon. You'll notice that here I don't have a copy, paste, cut, but if I click Show More Options, all of our familiar Windows 10 options are available. File Explorer, although the feel is a little bit different, all of the classic buttons and locations are still the same. So let's jump into folder structures. Windows 11 folder structures mimic Windows 10 folder structures. So you have your operating system local disk, and then you have the various folders in here. I'm going to go ahead and enable hidden folders as well. Okay, so first we have program files. Program files and program files x86 are where your actual applications are installed to. This includes their binaries and direct configuration files. These files typically won't change in these directories unless you have updating the software, but they'll be located in here. So anything you install off the internet will be put inside of program files, or 32-bit applications will be put in x86. Program data. This is where your direct program files or installed applications store revolving changing data such as logs or licenses and things of that nature. Typically that will be reside inside of program data. It is a hidden folder. You don't necessarily need to look in there ever unless you're trying to troubleshoot logs. I just know that it is available there. Next on the list we have the users folder. This is where all your user information resides. So right now I'm currently logged in as an admin. And you'll see there's an admin folder. It will contain my desktop, my documents, my downloads, my videos, anything that I'm doing in my user session stays in my user folder. And these are typically locked down to that user so that way other users cannot access someone else's files and folders. You have the default users, and this is the profile that the user will get when they are first created. And then you have the public, and public is similar to the default. It's anything placed here will be placed on every single person's desktop. Next on the folder structure we have Windows. The Windows folder contains everything relevant to the operating system. This includes policies, the registry, all the administrative tools. Anything relevant for the operating system will be under the Windows and System32 folder. So Windows has changed the administrative tools, and they keep adding and removing options and how to get there. But a lot of the classic tools still exist. So going to all apps, we can scroll down to the Windows Tools section. And this will open up a folder of all of the tools present that are available in this shortcut. Now you'll notice that there's some tools that are not located here, like the local groups and users. So this is one quick way to get to some of the tools available, like the control panel. But let me show you one of the best ways to get to the available tools on the system. So there's two ways you can get to it. You can type in Microsoft Management Console. It does not look like there's a shortcut for it here. The other way is type in MMC, which is Microsoft Management Console, and we can run it here. Or we can do Windows and R to bring up a run command, and we can type in MMC, which will also bring up the Management Console. From here, we can add snap-ins to customize our console. So we have certificates. These will show all local user certificates and computer certificates. And we can do it for the user account, the service account, or the computer account. We have the computer management, the device manager, so all of your drivers and devices connected to the system, physical hardware wise. Your disk management, so all the disk drives that are physically attached to the system. The event viewer, viewing our logs, our folders and permissions trees, our group policy editor, local users and groups where we can set up new user accounts, assist in password resets, remove groups, add groups, and reset passwords. Performance monitor, print management, and all of these we'll get to in a later lesson. Security templates, our services, shared folders, task scheduler, TPM management, Defender firewall management, and WMI control. So just to show you how we can easily set up a snap-in here of our commonly used thing. Let's say I'm a system administrator and I want to primarily work with my user base. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the local users and groups. And notice you can add it for another computer as well. So if I had another workstation on the system, I can add that system. And let's say I also want the event viewer because I want to see what's going on with my system. So now I have this console created. It's got two snap-ins for my local users and my event viewer. And I can go ahead and save this snap-in to my desktop. I'm going to call this my System Administrator Quick MMC Console. Now if I go to my desktop, I'll always have these quick system administrative capabilities saved to my desktop, and they're customized to my environment, things that I do on a day-to-day basis. Control panel options. So in the previous video I showed you one way to get to the control panel where you click all apps, go to the Windows Tools section, and then hit the control panel. Let me show you another way, a little bit easier. Again, Windows and R. You can pull up a run terminal and you can type in the word control. This will launch the control panel. So similarly to Windows 10, Microsoft has began transferring control panel options to the new settings menu, and we'll get to the settings menu in the next lesson. The settings menu is more user friendly but more difficult to use for advanced system administration. So I'm going to focus here on the control panel options here and just kind of discuss what's available, and then we'll get into the settings in the next lesson. So Windows Tools, again, a little shortcut for all the tools that are available on the system. It just pretty much opens up a folder with shortcuts. Windows Defender Firewall, similar to what we saw in the MMC console, we can launch Windows Defender Firewall and we can have various settings here. User accounts, this will pull up the GUI based administration of the user accounts. I always say when you're managing user accounts, use the MMC console and snap in local users and groups because there's more options, whereas here you're just going to be able to add and delete accounts with pre-existing groups. And you have some various other features in here, programs and features, very important for uninstalling applications or viewing installed updates on the system. Power options for what happens when the computer is idle. Your region and time and date settings are also available. Internet options, which this affects Microsoft Edge. Your fonts and indexing options. File Explorer options. So in a previous lesson I showed how to view hidden folders. Here's the classic way to view hidden folders or hide hidden folders. Devices and printers, where we can go and install other devices and printers and manage them through the control panel. The device manager, again, where you would go to install drivers and view that relevant drivers are installed on the system. Backup and restoration, recovery, and then BitLocker. And a lot of these we'll get to further in depth in other lessons as we discuss system administration of the actual systems. And last, we have Windows settings. So Windows settings is where a lot of control panel settings have been migrated to. It's supposed to be convenient for the end user to get in there and monitor and configure their system. This includes some security relevant properties like Windows Update, Windows Security, which is a whole suite of security functionality. And then we have the customized user settings, so accessibility, gaming, time, applications, personalization, where they can go in and configure their theme, their background, the color schemes, their fonts, networking and internet. So one thing I want to note here about networking and internet is that it has taken a long change from the classic Microsoft Windows 10 or Windows 8 feel. When you go to your network access and network and internet settings, you're brought to this page. From this page, when you try to edit your IP address information, for example, let me just change my IP address scheme. If I were to go ahead and do it manually here, Windows forces you to fill out all of this information. If something's not set, let's say you don't use a gateway because you're on a local network, you're not going to be able to set it here. So to get around that, we can go and set it the classic way. And the classic way, we'd have to get to, let me go back a page here, advanced network settings. We can go to our actual adapter. And once we get to our actual Ethernet adapter, we can go to the properties and configure it the classic Windows 10 way, where you go into the adapter. So that's settings in a nutshell. It's more customized for the user, it's more user friendly, but it's more difficult to navigate and use in a system administrator standpoint. And future lessons, I will show you how to update settings in the control panel, the settings, and the preferred method, which would be through PowerShell.